Okay, so today's the day we've been waiting for. Welcome, and let's drive some tractors. Before we can drive a tractor, we have to get up on the tractor, and there's a safe way to do that. And the safe way is with 3 points of contact. Never carry any tools in your hands. If you have extra tools, put them in your pocket. Okay, so now I got my hands free. I'm gonna mount with one hand, in this case on this tractor, on the loader, the other hand on the handrail, and I'm going to put my foot in the stirrup and mount up. Sometimes you have a staircase, and by the way, when you dismount, you do it the same way, facing the tractor, 3 points of contact at all times. Always make sure you have your hands free. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to go up. Perfect. And the first thing that we do on the tractor is find our seat belt and put it on. Our tractor is equipped with a ROPS, and this ROPS is here to protect you in case of a rollover accident. It can't do that unless you are restrained in the seat by a seat belt. Now, if your tractor doesn't have a ROPS, it's an orchard tractor or something, then you obviously don't want to wear the seat belt, because in a rollover, you just need to pray that you get bucked off. So out of habit, I always put my foot on the brake just to make sure it's not going to go anywhere. We've got our foot on the brake, and we're ready to start figuring out how to make this tractor move forward. Well, the American Society of Biological and Agricultural Engineers have helped you out with that, and they have made anything that deals with motion an orange color. So the first thing that we have here is we have a gear shifter. Obviously, it's orange. We want to make sure that it's in neutral, that it free floats side to side. We can tell that from the pattern that's on the gear shift knob. Later on, when we go to use it, we'll just put it in second gear. But right now, keep it in neutral. Now, that's great. That puts our transmission, or in this case, our hydrostatic settings, into whatever range we're going to be using. But our engine needs to be set at an RPM to do work. So if we're doing light work, just driving around, we might be set at around 1200 RPMs. If we're doing heavy work, some deeper tillage, we could be 2000, or if we're ripping and going with some really heavy tillage, we could be all the way up to 2400 RPMs, just as if we're using a PTO. So how do we do that? We go ahead and use the RPM throttle, okay? Notice it's a hand throttle, and it's signified with a turtle and a rabbit. That's really important, because some tractors will have a foot pedal, and if you're used to driving a car, then you might want to naturally go towards the orange foot pedal. And well, in a tractor on a bouncy field, if you try to drive steady with a foot pedal, your tractor's just going to rev and rev and rev, and that's no good for the engine, and it's really no good for your field. You're not going to get steady, consistent results out of that. So what we do is we set essentially our cruise control here at the tractor to the intended RPMs. And then if our tractor is equipped with a foot pedal, we can override that if we need to in specific circumstances. All right. This tractor is hydrostatically controlled. So we have two foot pedals. We have a forward and a reverse foot pedal. And those foot pedals are a little different because this tractor is hydrostatic, because it uses fluid power. So it has hydraulic motors that power each of the wheels. So this is a standard transmission. In order to change gears on this one, it's a little different than the hydrostatic we previously used. We're going to step on the clutch, and then we would shift into range 1 or range 2, depending on how fast we need to be going. And then we would put our gear. So right now, this is range 2, so this would be a combination of gear 5. If you look here, 1, 2, 3, 4, there are 4 speeds on this stick, and there are 2 positions. There's slow and medium. Those are our 2 options. So there are 8 total gears, so that's why when this is down here and this is over and up, that would be gear 5 out of 8. Now, if we want, we can put it in reverse, and there are only 4 options. There's 1 reverse on this side and 4 here, so there's only 4 speeds for reverse. And then when we're done, we always place it in park. On electronic control and some other gear shift, you might have a shuttle for forward and reverse that's here at the steering wheel. Now back to the hydrostatic here, we have our foot pedals, and if I want to go forward, I would step on the orange forward pedal. If I want to go reverse, I would step on the orange reverse pedal. Now the last thing that we need to get in order to move forward would be our parking brake, and we release our parking brake. Now notice that the parking brake, when I disengage it, sets an alarm. But to disengage, if you haven't used the style parking brake before, we just apply just a little bit of upward pressure, not a lot, just a little bit, enough to release the button right here. And I use my thumb to depress the button, and then I lower the handle. All right, so now that we understand how the tractor moves forward and the color coding, orange means motion, we need to be able to move things out of the way. Usually we have an implement mounted to the back of the tractor. If it's mounted on the 3-point hitch, we're going to need to use the 3-point hitch lever. Notice it has the arm up and the arm down. And so if I want to move the arm up, I pull the lever up. If I want to move the arm down, I pull the lever down. So when I'm going between fields, I'm going to lift my 3-point hitch so that way my implement isn't dragging on the ground. When I'm ready to do some work in the field, I'm going to go ahead and lower my implement into the ground. Some implements may need to be lowered only partially, others may need to be lowered all the way. It really just depends on the implement you're using. So when we hop in and we have the tractor on, we're going to go ahead and just always put this up until we are ready to engage the soil. Let's say we have an implement on the tractor and it's powered by hydraulics. There's hydraulic sprayers where the pump spins and will initiate the spray pattern, and we can plug it into the green or the blue ports on the back of the tractor. Set of lines. If we want to turn that on, we could press forward or press reverse here. Some hydraulics will just stay put. So it really depends on the implement. If I have an implement that does linear actuation, right? So a hydraulic cylinder that expands, it only goes to a fixed distance. I want to be able to push here so when I let go, we stop pumping fluid. Hydraulic fluid's pumped at around 3,000 psi, and most of the hoses are rated for around 6,000 psi burst pressure. It's not something you want to have burst either way. So if with a linear actuated piece of equipment, you know it's going to stop, you want to use the hydraulics that automatically pop back. That's usually your primary hydraulic, or Roman numeral 1 right there. If you're running a motor, which is going to continuously run, you want to be able to turn it on. You don't want to have to hold it the whole time. So you turn it on. Now, if your equipment runs backwards, so this lowers an implement, this raises it, all you have to do is switch your hoses at the plugs in the back, and now this will lower it and this will raise it. We'll talk more about that during hitching. So these tractors are equipped with a bucket, and you can see the pattern right here on the bucket. If we want to raise the bucket, we just pull down. If we want to lower the bucket, we push forward. If we want to dump the bucket, we push away from us. Took me a second to remember. If we want the bucket to scoop and load up, we pull in towards us. And that's how you read that code right there. Normally, I would just raise my bucket just enough that it's not scraping on the ground while I drive, and we call it good enough. We just want to keep it out of the way, but also out of the way of our field of vision. We want to have a clear view of the field. If we were to raise it, say all the way to the top, where we would also have a clear view to the top of the stroke there, we run into stability issues. The higher the bucket is, the more unstable the tractor is. It changes the center of gravity. It changes the weight balance. So the next control we need to go over is our PTO. This is our rear power takeoff control. And so we would turn, with the RPMs way down, we would turn the knob on, and then we would raise our RPMs until our dashboard, until our RPMs meet our 540 marking on the dashboard here. So in this case, that's about 2,400 RPMs. 22 to 2,400 RPMs is very typical for PTO required RPMs. When we go to turn it off, we would lower our RPMs, allow the PTO shaft to spin down, and then turn it off. So that is for a rear mount PTO. PTOs are always yellow knobs. This tractor is also equipped with a mid-mount PTO. And the mid-mount PTO will engage mower decks. You could have it actually control cultivators, things like that. Rototillers that are mounted in the middle of the tractor. So this one is a simple operation. We would pull up or we would push down. Again, with our RPMs really low, we engage the PTO. We raise the RPMs to our PTO speed around 2400. And then before we turn it off, we slowly lower the RPMs, wait for the PTO to spin down, and then we disengage the PTO. With the tractor on, or in this case, with the tractor key in the accessory position, we want to check that all of our gauges and everything are working, and we see all the symbols we should be seeing. In park, we've got 85 hours, we've got 12.4 volts, we are good to go. Now down here, you'll notice that there's a couple of buttons. And the first one we want to check is our horn. So the next button we want to do is our emergency flashers. We should see our green flashing lights up on the dashboard, and behind us we should see our amber flashers flashing as well. Next, our headlights. And so to turn on our headlights, we just flip the switch right there. You can see the symbol for the headlights right there. We should hop off the tractor and double check that those headlights are working. And now, over here, we have our brightness of our headlights. And then we also have our turn signals. So now, before we get driving, we have to remember that there are 10 rules that we must follow in order to drive and operate a tractor. So here they are. Always securely fasten your seatbelt, just like we went over in the beginning. If you're driving next to an embankment or a ditch, you want to stay at least 6 feet away from it. If that's not possible, then you must stay, however deep that ditch is, that same distance away from the edge of the ditch or the embankment. You don't want to go sliding down or rolling the tractor into a canal, a ditch, or off the side of a hill. So play it smart, play it safe. When you're going over rough terrain, if you're turning, if you are crossing slopes, if it's slick or muddy out, always reduce your speed. Only go as fast, and a tractor's slow, remember that. Only go as fast as is safely possible. We're not out to win the race, we are out to win the day. And a tractor will always win the day because it can do heavy work all day long if you're smart about it. Stay off slopes that are too steep, okay? And slopes that you can traverse that are steep, you may want to back up to prevent tipping. If you're going down those slopes and they're kind of on the steep side, put the tractor in the lowest gear possible and ride the transmission and engine down the hill, minimizing the amount of wear you put on your brakes, because brakes on a tractor, they're a suggestion usually. They're not going to stop the tractor. The engine's powerful enough, it can just power through most brakes. So ride the transmission down and then use the brakes to control it from there. If you're traversing a hill sideways, again, make sure that it is not too steep, and that way you don't roll your tractor. So steep slopes, stay off of them. And then at the row ends, watch where you're going. You've got a lot of people, especially when we're doing row crop or veg crop, you have a lot of people potentially out in that field, farm crews, everything out there. You'll notice that the large farms around the area, everybody will be wearing safety or high-vis yellow or high-vis orange shirts in order to make sure that the tractor operator can clearly see the person and differentiate them from the field. In fact, nighttime operations require the use of Class 2 high visibility shirts and forward and reverse lights, facing lights, during nighttime operations. And this is to ensure that the tractor operator can see in front of the tractor, can see the implement behind the tractor, and also all the people that are working in the field. So that way we can minimize accidents. And then, I know it's a lot of fun, And if you're old enough, you might remember when people did ride on the side of tractors, but there are too many stories of people getting hurt riding on the side of tractors. Please do not permit anybody to ride on a tractor. In fact, I was reading an article the other day, and just here recently in the Midwest, there was an article about an accident where somebody was riding on the side of the tractor and they fell off the tractor and it ran over their skull. They were instantaneously killed. So please, riding on the back of a tractor, riding on the side of a tractor, it's a quick way to either get caught under the wheels or by the implement itself behind the tractor. So no riders, no visitors, unless there's a buddy seat with a seat belt. So the next one, this one's hard for new operators. Always operate the tractor smoothly. You don't want a jerky operation. Just like we were talking about the gas pedal earlier, the jerkier you are at operating the tractor and the more lurching the tractor does, the harder it is to control the tractor. Not only do you get poor ground penetration, but you are more likely to fully lose control of the tractor when it's jerky or when it's kind of rough operation. And then at the back of the tractor, only hitch to the 2 approved hitch points. You've got the drawbar for hitching towed equipment to. And then you've got the 3-point hitch for mounted or 3-point hitch equipment to. Don't try to attach equipment to other places. The tractor is designed to work with loads, either on the 3-point hitch or on the drawbar, and maintain a low center of gravity. Anything you do otherwise is going to change that center of gravity and potentially upset the tractor, leading to an accident, rollover, or tipping experience. Number 9, when the tractor is stopped, always apply the parking brake. On some tractors, that could be putting the shuttle into park. In other tractors, it could be putting the gear into park. And on this tractor, you saw it was using the parking brake itself. And the last 10th commandment of tractor driving, do not horseplay. There's no such thing as safe games when you're operating a tractor. Tractors do not care what's underneath them. In fact, a lot of times you're not going to feel what's underneath them. So don't place somebody on the ground or don't place another tractor at risk because you want to have 30 seconds of fun. No horseplay in the fields. All right, so we are ready to drive the tractor. I have my foot on the brake, and I'm going to turn my key to the accessory position, and I'm going to turn it one more. And I'm going to allow the tractor to warm up. Notice I didn't hold the key and have the tractor keep trying to run the starter. Once the engine took, I let off the key, and now I set my tractor at about 1200 RPMs so it can warm up. I raised my 3-point hitch. I raised my bucket just enough, and then I released the parking brake. With my tractor in gear, I am ready to go. I've got 2 hands on the steering wheel, 10 and 2. I let off the brake, and I step on the forward pedal. And I'm going to drive myself to have a whole lot of fun. All right, so now we've parked the tractor, and we are ready to shut it off. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to lower my RPMs to about 1,000 and just allow the engine to breathe and cool down. I'm going to go ahead and lower my 3-point hitch, just the reverse of raising it. I'm going to lower my bucket by pushing forward. I'm going to put my shifter into neutral here so it flows side to side nice and freely. And I'm going to make sure that I have my parking brake engaged. All right, now I turn the key off, release my seat belt, 3 points of contact, and I go ahead and dismount the tractor.